Okay, today we're in the car with my friends Allie and Patrick over in Fairfax County. Hi, guys.
Hey, how you doing?
What's up?
I'm good. This is not the first time that we have chatted because you guys were possibly the reason why I was going to fall in love. So maybe we should go back and just explain this really quick of how we even linked up in the first place. I've been to Reston before. I've been to Fairfax County, and that's why I'm excited to have you guys as my first guest here, because I was like, wow, there's so much going on over there. But you guys planned the best date ever for me, is basically how it went down, right?
We did. We heard your story and we said, well, you made the comment, what's there to do in Reston? And we said, well, hey, that's what we do. We can help you with that.
And Virginia is for lovers as well. So we thought, we got to give it our best shot.
Now, that didn't pan out. The date was great. The relationship didn't quite pan out, but it doesn't take anything away for Virginia being for lovers, that's for sure. So what we're going to do in the next couple of minutes on this podcast is basically explain to you, wouldn't it be cool for you to hop in the car this weekend and go over to Fairfax County? Because there is so much. And the more that I've talked to you guys, the more I realize you could spend plenty of time over here. It doesn't matter if you have kids or if you're doing for like a date night or you just want to get away with your partner. There's literally so many things to do. Let's start, though. Let's imagine that we're over here in Maryland and we're getting in the car and we're heading over there and we've got our kids with us. So let's start with that. And what's my best activities to do for a day or a weekend?
Well, I mean, if we start with Reston, just since that's what we're familiar with, it's actually a great place for kids. I'm not biased or anything because I actually live there. I have a toddler, so I'm firsthand experience of this. But there's really great farm animal experiences and like zoofari animal experiences. So there's a actual local zoofari where you can do wagon rides to the park, meet some zebras, feed the parakeets. They have a Watusi over there, which is like the big horned animals. It's like a
look it up.
Yeah.
And I too have a 4-year-old son, and there's nothing better than sticking your kid through the sunroof and letting them feed zebras on the top of your car. The look is priceless.
Yeah. And then around the corner from there, you've got Frying Pan Farm Park, which is, it actually is a historic dairy farm that harkens back to Fairfax County's history as a dairy farm. And they have the farm animal experience where you can see the little goats and the cows and the pigs and the big Clydesdale horses. So really cool.
What's really cool about Reston itself is this community was built as like this live, work, play. It was the first one ever, right?
Well, it's the first planned community post-war, so one of the first in America, yeah.
And so the city was pretty, and you guys can do a much better job about this, because when I went to the museum over there, I was like, oh my gosh, like there was like major thought about how to make this a community where you literally bring everything together. So if we're just talking about Reston, you want to explain that, because it's a really cool thing you need to know before you head over to Fairfax County.
Yeah, so just quick fun fact about Reston. It's named after its founder, Robert E. Simon. The name is taken from his initials. And his family actually owned Carnegie Hall. And when they sold it, he used that money to buy Reston and create this master plan. And so what they have developed is this beautiful walking community where like kind of nature intertwines with the urban aspects of it. So there's lots of nature trails. And they really do all these fun community festivals to bring everybody together. My son went to his first concert there. It was a jazz concert right on Lake Ann Plaza. So he was moving and grooving about 3-4 feet from the stage, getting a trumpet blasted in his face. But they do that kind of stuff year round, and it's really awesome. It's a welcoming community and one of our favorites here in Fairfax County.
Yeah, and for couples or friends that want to hang out too, Lake Ann is a really great spot to do it. There's a nano brewery there where you can get some locally poured beer, pull up a chair on the patio there, watch the paddle boaters going by, and also listen to the jazz music.
I can tell you the paddle boats over at Lake Ann are super fun and like really romantic. I know we're kind of focused on kids there for a second, but now let's take it over to adults, because you really would be a fun weekend away, and there really is so much to do for couples too. So kids, you got all the zoo stuff, and I would say even the Lake Ann area is fun even if you do have a family. But it was a really fun date spot too to go. And the paddle boats are really fun. I wasn't prepared for it. She was actually wearing a dress that day. So if I can give you any pro tips, is if you're going to do the paddle boats, don't wear a dress. So she had to go back and change really quick. But it was really fun because then it's you and your person out there. And you're in the middle of the water. You got the water spout coming out in the middle, and it's really fun. You guys both actually have stories though about Lake Ann that are pretty special.
Yeah, well, I mentioned the concert that I had with my little son, but also you can do stand-up paddleboarding on Lake Ann seasonally, and so pro tip with that: wear a bathing suit because you don't always stay on the paddleboard when you're standing up. Just take it from me. That's my fun little story.
Yeah, well, and it's definitely really beautiful there. Another pro tip would be if you're coming in the springtime, a lot of people come to DC area for the cherry blossoms on the tidal basin, but Fairfax County has a lot of really great cherry blossoms as well. And one of the secret spots is on Lake Ann. There's a beautiful bridge that you can paddle right under, and there's a lot of flowing cherry trees there. So it's a hidden spot for those areas. But
and there's Lake Ann, but also Reston Town Center was designed as kind of like the hub of Reston itself. And there you're talking multiple restaurants, bars, great food, great entertainment on the plaza right there. And it's really beautiful designed, kind of like in the concept of like a European city center. So really elegant and, as you said, romantic, if that's the way.
Right? Yeah, it totally can be. Like, I think that one thing that I noticed by going over there was that it can be kind of what you want it to be, because you saw people that were my age, mid-30s, mid to late 30s, that were out as couples, but then you had families there too. There were so many things to do over in that shopping area where I was like, it's a cool spot to go. So please don't go to Reston and not make sure that you head over to the town center, because it's really cool over there. Okay, now let's head out. Let's say we were to head out of Reston. Where are we heading next on our road trip?
So since you're out like kind of on the western part of Fairfax over there, you've got to drop down. It's maybe about 15, 20 minutes towards the Washington Dulles Airport. But there's adjacent to the airport, an amazing museum called Smithsonian's National Air and Space Museum, Stephen F. Udvar-Hazy Center. And many may be familiar with the museum on the National Mall in DC, the Air and Space Museum. This is a sister site of that museum, but don't tell anyone it's the cooler one, because they have all of the actual aircraft and spacecraft in this giant, massive hangar. So I don't care what age you are. I don't care if you're a kid, if you're an adult, if you're a veteran that's been in some of our previous conflicts. You go in this place and you're looking up at these machines, and it's jaw-dropping. It's a total jaw-dropping experience.
And just from my standpoint, you walk in that place and there's a space shuttle, like a space shuttle. And so just being able to go there, I get all excited like I'm a kid again, because it's this massive spacecraft, Space Shuttle Discovery, which is the best space shuttle that they ever made. It most missions, most time in space, all that good stuff. Yeah. But it is just phenomenal. That's another place I took my kid, and it just kind of brings everything to life for people who are young like that.
We should mention too, for Star Wars fans, here's another pro tip when you're heading over to that area.
Yeah, and temporary, because it's a limited time, but they just brought in the actual X-Wing fighter from the Rise of Skywalker movie. It's crazy. In the it's a total full-size jet. It's really cool. And it's in the restoration hangar right now, and it'll be there for a while until they move it downtown into DC. So it's
when is that? Just for timing purposes, because I want to make sure that we.
I don't have the exact date. I think it'll be a little while though.
Yeah, I want to say it's like through the end of the year.
Yeah.
Okay, so through the end of 2021. So hurry. Basically, what we're saying is, if you're going to go, you got to make sure that
it's a good reason for Star Wars fans to come out.
Allie and I have been trying to convince the Smithsonian folks to let us take it for a spin, but that hasn't happened yet. So maybe if they watch this,
if we put it out there in the universe,
maybe that can be it, right? Like right here alone, this podcast is going to take off big enough where they can't say no anymore.
Right.
That's gonna be our objective.
I have to say though, real quick on the air and space, it's so funny. My husband, who's a private pilot, he he just is into like the science world. He's not much of a picture taker, when we go places, but I brought him to this museum and I kept looking behind me like he's lagging behind, taking photos of every thing that's in there. We were there for hours.
Right. Yeah.
Really cool.
Next time I get over there, I'll have to check it out because it does sound cool.
Yeah.
Let's go outside. Reston was beautiful, and the Lake Anne area is beautiful. So make sure you for sure go to Lake Anne. But tell me about the Meadowlark Gardens.
Go ahead.
Yeah, if you drop down, so now we're going to head in a little bit more south in Fairfax, in the town of Vienna and surrounding areas. Meadowlark, I mentioned those cherry blossoms. Meadowlark is another prime spot for springtime cherry blossom viewing. So it's a 95-acre botanical gardens, absolutely a zen place to go. They also have the only public traditional Korean bell garden pavilion in the Western Hemisphere. Wow. This thing is like insane. It's built completely where it fits together. There's no nails or screws in the entire thing. And if you need a place to go to get away from it all, this is your place.
Yeah, and that pavilion that Allie just mentioned with no nail screws, it's kind of like this manufactured giant Jenga thing is what it looks like. But anyway, it holds a 2-ton. 3-ton, thank you, bell.
That's a lot of tons, to be fair. Like, we don't want to, like, between 2 and 3 is a lot of tons.
I mean, it is.
But it's fantastic. And like Allie said, total zen. You can just get lost in there walking around on the different trails and just looking at all the beautiful flowers. But it is open year round. And in the winter, they have a phenomenal walk-through light show. Oh, wow. And it's one of the most highly attended holiday events here in Fairfax
Which
County.
is great for kids. Kids absolutely love it because they can run around. They get their s'mores at the end.
Well, that's really good to know. So if you are traveling, when does that start? Like if you guys are going to do a road trip and you're going to do it during the holiday season, we're talking mid-November through.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Mid-November through early January.
Then make sure that you check it out.
Yeah.
Let's go over to Tyson's. Tell me about Tyson's.
Well, Tyson's, it started as a peach grove and it's turning into America's next great city. It has grown just exponentially over the decades, home to Fortune 500 companies. It has the greatest concentration of shopping out on the East Coast outside of Manhattan in New York City. So if you're looking to shop, that is your place to go.
That's the spot, huh?
It's kind of become a little bit of like Fairfax County's urban downtown, like the center. So it's really accessible from, major driving arteries from coming in from Baltimore, things like that, and giving you access to other areas of the county.
If I were to head over there for shopping, like what are some of the stores I can look for?
Well, I think between Tyson's Corner Center and Tyson's Galleria, there are over like 400 plus stores. Yep. I mean, you can, in Tyson's Corner Center itself, there's an actual Tesla like showroom. Oh, wow. So you could look at your Tesla, go get some cookie dough at the little kiosk, then pick up an American Girl doll for your baby back home. And, or if your kid's with you, there's a cafe in the American Girl store. Cool. Yeah, it's really great. And then Tyson's Galleria is undergoing even some big redevelopment right now. And they're going to be adding in some cool entertainment aspects like a upscale bowling alley and cinema, upscale cinema.
You guys are going to have a performing arts center there too, right? That's not going to open until October 1st. So depending on when you're 2021. So depending on when you're listening, the Capital One Hall, right?
Yep. Just down the road from the big shopping areas. This place is going to be pretty magnificent. I mean, the Capital One Hall is the theater. They've already got a lineup of really great shows coming in. Little Big Town kicks off the season. I think there's a Charlie Brown Christmas show. They just booked Rob Schneider for a comedy show. And then also a Broadway lineup, including Waitress and An Officer and a Gentleman. So there's a lot of variety coming in. And Patrick, and
on top of Capital One Hall, there is a park in the sky, which is epic.
What does that mean?
It's called a sky park. So they've built out the entire top of this skyrise theater, essentially, to put a beer garden. It's anchored by one of Virginia's finest, Star Hill Brewery. It's going to have a putt-putt course up there. There's a concert amphitheater. There is public art. There is.
They lifted food trucks to put on top of this building. So, I mean, it's going to be epic.
Yeah.
And it's like, so, you know, you have this urban center with Tyson's, but the cool thing, you find this all throughout Fairfax County. Just a couple miles away, you find, once again, nature in like Great Falls Park, which is probably one of the most photographed places here in Fairfax County. People from DC come out here all the time just to.
Honestly, when I didn't realize, this is before we even, you know, we knew each other, but the first place I came, one of my first weekends of moving to Maryland, the first place I went was Great Falls. It is so beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm surprised with how many people that I've talked to that I'm like, have you been to Great Falls? They're like, no. I'm like, you have to. It's honestly. And I do a lot of outdoor stuff. I do a lot of traveling. The cool thing with this is it's, depending on where you are in Maryland, for me, it was like an hour, maybe less than an hour. The most beautiful waterfall I've ever seen. I've been twice now. I bought the pass to go back.
Yeah.
It's so freaking beautiful.
Yeah, and there's outfitters that you can work with to go rock climbing, kayaking. Just don't swim. Swimming is a big no-no just because the Potomac kind of angry right there coming down off the falls.
But these are Class 5 rapids. I mean, it's a big deal. It's operated by the National Park Service. Really, it's a special place. And a lot of people are shocked to see that there's that kind of natural oasis, and then you're still only like 10 miles from DC.
It's crazy. Yeah. Especially if you're down in the DC area, you don't head over there. Like that's, I mean, it is a real, I didn't know what to expect going over there, but I was like, wow, this is really, really awesome. Tell me about the Mosaic District now. I want to know more about this kind of trendier area.
Okay, so I used to live near there when it didn't exist. And so just over, like, within the last...
Less than 10 years.
Yeah, it's been
5 years, 6 years.
Yeah, something like that. It used to be like a deserted movie parking lot, like a movie theater parking lot. All of a sudden, once again, with the planned communities, they've just created this dynamic, walkable community with lots of kind of like unique boutique type of stores, restaurants. Everything is centered again around community. So they have a community park where they show movies. And the park is located next to like this cute little Angelica. How would you describe it?
Angelica Film Center. It's like an art house cinema.
Right.
Oh, nice. Nice.
This is one of those places though that you can spend all day. I mean, between the independent retailers, the really great restaurants, there's a brewery like right there. I mean, I had a bunch of girlfriends from high school come in. We're like, we're going to go do all this stuff in Fairfax County. We literally spent all day at Mosaic District where we could get our nails done. We can go to the brewery. We could go to dinner. We can do some window shopping. You can go axe throwing. I mean, it's an all-day experience.
And they do fun stuff too, like farmers markets. And then they're like, how can we think outside the box? So they set up a summer disco roller skating rink in the middle of this place.
Wow.
Only available until September 12th.
Only September 12th. So again,
hurry on down.
Hurry up. But they do stuff like that throughout the year.
Well, so I think you can tell just by listening to this episode of the podcast is like, so many things you can do. There's literally, and we're not even done yet. We're not even done. So now you're in Tyson's, right? And we're going to drive south about 30 minutes. And now we're going to be kind of in the heart and soul of Fairfax County, right?
Yeah. The historic heart and soul, as we like to say. Yeah. I mean, it's in the southern Fairfax County part. I mean, this is where, I mean, again, you could spend all day just in this one area of the county, but this is is home to like these must-see experiences. If you're coming to DC at all, I mean, we have a couple famous residents, George Washington being one of them. He was quite a guy, and he lived on the southern part of Fairfax County at Mount Vernon, which is, I think, probably if you're going to do anything, you've got to see this. If you have any interest in history whatsoever, it's absolutely stunning.
Absolutely. And as a product of Virginia public education, we would take field trips to Mount Vernon when I was little. But the things that they have done to incorporate technology to kind of bring history alive is truly phenomenal.
So it's George Washington's house. Is that what it is? And so now it's like obviously a monumental place.
Now it is the most visited historic estate in America.
Wow.
So, yeah. And honestly, it's really cool because if it weren't for a group of women back in the 1860s, this wouldn't even be here for us to enjoy. But these women realized the magnitude of what that house meant. And it was falling into disarray at the time. And they said, we've got to do something to save this. And to this day, it is still a privately run organization operated by the Mount Vernon Ladies Association.
Wow.
And they've really taken it to like extraordinary.
Yeah. And when they wanted to kind of step up their game and say, okay, we have the mansion, you could do the mansion tours, but we want to give people more. They didn't want to mess up the scenery at Mount Vernon at all. So they built a museum and education center underground. So you actually are underground going through this maze of history.
Really great for kids.
Really
too.
great
Very
for kids.
interactive.
But, it's just one of our must-dos, like Allie said.
There's so much. There's literally, I think by listening, you see that like you could make a weekend out of it. I mean, a couple of different weekends out of it. You can
Easily.
do trips to the individual things. You could probably do multiple things. I mean, just in Reston alone, that alone to me, I was there for
7 hours?
7 hours, and like we barely scratched the surface.
Yeah.
Of everything just in Reston. So you might want to make a weekend out of it, and you could do historical things. You can get outside. You can go to Great Falls, the George Washington. I mean, all of this. Like, I'm pumped to get back over there now. Just
You're welcome anytime.
Yeah. Well, and we say that it really, it really depends on what you want your experience to look like. I know it's sometimes cliche to say there's something for everyone, and everybody says that, but honestly, if you can think of an interest segment, whether you're an active adult, want to get out in the water, you want to take your kids on a great experience, you want to soak up arts and culture, you want to stick strictly to urban life kind of as an adventure, you can just go to our website, fxva.com, figure out what you need to do, and you can build an itinerary just around those interest segments and stay here for 1 day, 2 day, a week, whatever you need.
You can get all that in the show notes too, so you can make sure that you plan like the perfect trip over there. If you had to pick one thing out of all we just talked about, let's say I'm only in Reston for one activity. What's the one thing I can't miss?
In Reston?
I'm sorry, I'm in Fairfax County.
Okay.
If I'm in Fairfax County, I can only see one thing.
Are we allowed to say this with all of our amazing stakeholders?
Everyone's the George Washington House, like, you better say us.
You go first.
Oh no!
I'm putting you on the
It's
spot.
the thing, because we just talked about so many things that you can do throughout the course of a day or a weekend, right? But and like we said, if you want to make it a weekend stay, you got over 100 hotels all throughout Fairfax County to make a weekend out of it, and we just gave you so many great things you can hop in the car and go do, right? But if I'm there for one thing, I don't know that I could even do it. So
The thing is,
I have an answer, but I want
the
you to go.
thing is, to me, you can't answer that because it depends on what you're interested in. So if you're
for you personally,
for me, well, I'm interested in a lot of things. I mean, I don't know. I feel like Mount Vernon is special. It's kind of a one and only thing that you can do. Yeah. But also, we didn't get to talk too much about this, but there's a beautiful place called Wolf Trap, which is the only national park that's dedicated to the performing arts. And there's something really special about going to a concert there, bringing your picnic. You're out in a national park land, so you've got the stars above you. You're listening to great music. You're drinking your locally poured Virginia wine that you picked up around the corner at one of our wineries. And you got your friends and family with you. I mean, that's kind of special too.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, for me, like as I sit here today, the one thing that I do is we have a museum that just opened, the National Museum of the United States Army, and it was actually featured on the Today Show for its grand opening. But that place is not only does it do justice to the the courageous members of the U.S. Army that have served on our behalf, but the way that they've integrated the technology to just make it a top-notch museum experience, it makes people like me want to come back not just one time but multiple times, because they have movie theaters in there that show different military-related movies, and I mean, they've just done a wonderful job.
It's not just for veterans or people interested in military history. They've really made it inclusive to anybody that's interested in any kind of history and how America kind of got its start. So,
but you can't go wrong. If you visit any of the things that we talked about,
That's what I'm
you're
saying.
going to be happy.
There's so many things to do, and like I hope that after hearing this episode, it's a short drive away, depending on obviously where you are in Maryland. I know for me it was a little over an hour to get to Reston itself, but it was so worth it. Now after hearing this, I can't wait to get back over there. fxva.com is the website. It's down in the show notes as well. It sounds like no matter what you're looking to do, it's a perfect weekend getaway. And I can't wait to hop back in the car and come back over and see you guys.
Good.
we think you'll all be surprised. I think you'll find that there's more than you might expect here.
Well, I got to find somebody else to date over there. So I'm gonna leave that up to you guys.
We can do
We
that.
can hook you up.
Yeah.
Just all you have to do is ask.
Reston Part 2, baby. I'm back. I'm back. I'm dating the whole city
Absolutely.
until I find the one, because Virginia's for lovers.
But you know what? Like we said, I mean, maybe that relationship didn't work out, but we got a new relationship here, and you got to just come hang with us.
Yeah.
That's what
You
I'm
know?
saying. A
Right.
friendship. If nothing more that came from that, it was like meeting you guys is so
Yeah.
much fun, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
This is Patrick
Let's
and
get
Allie.
something on the books.
We
Come on,
need
Kramer.
to. Well, I just don't know what. Now there's so much. I'm almost like, I don't even know what we go do now. There's so much pressure to do the absolute right thing. I'll be there for a week.
We'll start a monthly series.
That's what
We'll
we'll do.
come once a
Come on.
month. We'll do something new.
I'll just buy property over there. I'll just move.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There you go.
I'm gonna move over there. That's going to be the plan. You guys are the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank
we hope
you
to
very
see all
much.
you guys soon. Come visit us. Guys soon. Come visit us. Guys soon. Come visit us. Guys soon. Come